What's going on? It's your boy Sheev the Wise, and welcome back to Vader's Lair. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, because I definitely am, with the brand new and official Ahsoka trailer. Let's get into it. We're gonna break down the whole thing, watch it together over and over and over and over again, because damn, this Ahsoka trailer is so damn good. Let's get it going though. I hope you're having a good one, and welcome in everyone in the live chat. Let's do it. Welcome in one and all. Make sure to subscribe as you enter, and let's dive straight into this trailer. It is so good. I am so excited. And guys, if you haven't seen Star Wars Rebels already, this is why I've been saying you need to. This show is for real like a Star Wars Rebels season 5. Season 5, y'all. I'm at a loss for words. I've been giddy all day like a little kid with this dang trailer, man. Whew, this is some good Star Wars. I'm here for this. What's up, everybody in the chat? Darth Maximus, Brandon Alvarado, CT0420, Alan Copeland, Sabersmith, Datboy Steve, everybody. It's good to see y'all, man. The hype is real. I know we're all super excited for the show. It's surreal that it's around the corner. Let's check out this trailer, and let's do it right now, guys. Let's go for it.
War is inevitable. One must destroy in order to create.
Oh, let's go! Man,
We are no Jedi.
the Force scenes with Balin and Shin. Fire! Look at that! The music's giving me Thrawn vibes too. Let's go, Kiners.
Of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire.
What happens when we find Thrawn?
Oh, Morgan Elsbeth. Was she using the
Such as
Force,
you've never
or?
dreamed.
Wait. Oh! Damn.
I've spent most of my life fighting a war. That's
Chopper!
why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one.
Okay, damn. Hera's
You and I both know who could
getting a
help
lot
you
of
with
Hera
this.
in this one.
She's still
Let's go,
just
man.
as
It really
stubborn
feels
as
like a
ever.
Rebel sequel.
I bet your master found you difficult at times.
Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine. You never
Who
make
says
things
that? Okay,
easy for me,
that's my question.
Master.
Master?
As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can.
That's right.
But I'm counting on you to see this through.
Iman has found. He sounds
Nice
great.
haircut.
She looks dope. Let's go.
Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings.
Yo, Purgle? Damn.
If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be.
Yo, bro, let's go.
You have no power.
Oh my god, this show looks so good.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
We have a lot of work to do.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
Yo. That's so fire. Dang. Let's go. 2-episode premiere. Let's go, y'all. Okay, I am hyped. We got to watch through this thing over and over and over again. Like I was saying, this has so much to unpack in it. There's just so much. It's overwhelming. This is such a dang good trailer. It just gets me hyped, man. It gets me real hyped. All right, let me turn it down. We're gonna put it on like
One must destroy.
half speed, to be honest, and I'm gonna mute it just for the moment, just so we could talk about this a little bit. First of all, this intro with Balin and Shin is fire. It's fire, man. The total like prequel Sith, and like even it gives me like a mirrored vibe of what we get with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon in Phantom Menace. Let me go back to the beginning here. It's literally the master and apprentice, and except this time in kind of an Imperial dark side ship going to, you know, the diplomatic mission, or it almost seems like they're going to break out somebody from a Republic transport or a New Republic transport, which totally could be Morgan Elsbeth, even as we see them working alongside her later on in the trailer. And is it 6 episodes over 5 weeks? I think it is. Isn't it 8? Is it 8 or 6 episodes? I think it's 8 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's going to be 8 episode season, where we're getting 2 episodes for the premiere on August 23rd, which is going to be so freaking hyped. And then 6 episodes over the next 6 weeks after that. So 8 episodes in 7 weeks, I think. Yeah, so 8 episodes in 7 weeks. That's going to be a fantastic 7 weeks. And I got to say, guys, watching through this trailer, to me, it doesn't feel like this is just a one-season show. And I don't think Dave Filoni is going to finish this story in just 8 episodes for this first season. It feels like a multiple-season show, if not, at least the second season leading into that Dave Filoni movie that's going to kind of culminate all of this Mandoverse stuff that's going on between Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka now, Skeleton Crew is going to be coming out later in the year. There is so much stuff involved in this story, and it's just getting better and better, man. And this show seems like it's right on par with some of the best of the Mandalorian and that Star Wars has to offer. I'm so freaking hyped. It is 8 episodes, I believe. Yes, 8 says Dawn. Starts with 2 says Maximus. Brian Stone says however many it is. It isn't enough. That's the truth, man. We need more of this. More. I'm curious about the figure depicted in stone. We'll get to that. All right, we'll get to that. Let's get it going. Again, I love this transport here with Baylan talking about war is inevitable. And it also sparks up the idea in my mind. These characters are named Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati. Of course, Skoll and Hati, if you guys don't know, are mythological figures of, like, the Greek mythology. Not Greek mythology, Norse mythology. I'm sorry. With like Thor and Ragnarok in particular is where Skoll and Hati are from. And Skoll and Hati signify the beginning of Ragnarok, or the beginning of the end of the Norse gods, I guess you could say. So I don't know what Skoll and Hati are exactly signifying here in terms of the end of something. Maybe it's like the end of this kind of era, the start of the end, I guess. But I'm wondering if there may be a sign for kind of a war to come, as they even talk about here. A war is coming, you know what I mean? I need infinite hours of the show. Me too. So war is inevitable, says Baylan, as him and Shin come there. They almost seem like they're expecting Jedi, which I also love the fact that, that we even see a Mon Cala there. It seems like they think they're Jedi. They come there, they're like, one must destroy to rebuild, which I love. And these dudes getting blowback is so freaking cool, with them just, dominating everybody going through the transport. Such a freaking cool scene. I can't wait to see this. And again, I do think they're potentially, picking up a prisoner or something. We are no Jedi, as he tells the dude, like, yeah, you picked up and helped out the wrong people. And I love this music. Hold up. Let me just say, man, the Kiners make some fire music, and this sounds fire. It totally gives me like Star Wars Tron vibes. This symbol, that totally reminds me of some of the stuff that we get with the what's it called? Ugh. The father, the son, and the daughter, who are Star Wars like mythological characters, I guess you could say, that date back to the Clone Wars, and Ahsoka has a deep tie to. Some of you guys might be confused if you've never really, if you don't know too much about Ahsoka. These kind of characters embody the light, dark, and I guess the in between of the Force. Like they're literally embodiments of the Force, being the father, who's the middle in between the light and dark, the daughter, who's a light side figure, and then the son, who's a dark side figure. And this mural totally gives me vibes of that. A lot of this kind of, Jedi Temple stuff that it seems like they're exploring and going throughout the trailers that we've gotten so far totally gives me vibes of that. And I definitely think that could be something that ties into the show, seeing as the embodiment of the daughter has sort of become or implanted herself in Ahsoka, which is a long story that we'll get to in another video. Either way, though, I'm totally loving the vibes that were coming from this trailer and this little mural here of Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire. So for those that don't know the Thrawn character too much, Thrawn is a character that originated from the expanded universe or the expanded lore and legends of Star Wars. He was this brilliant tactician mastermind that was always 5 steps ahead of whoever his enemy, I guess you could say, is, or his adversary is. He's like a chess player that literally is almost unbeatable in terms of tactical strategy and thinking. Like, he's literally always multiple steps ahead of you. So the whole deal with Thrawn is he was brought back into canon for the Star Wars Rebels show, which this show is so much like a sequel to. Again, if you haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, you need to. And so Thrawn, is this character through expanded lore that became the heir to the Empire in the expanded universe, or in the non-canon books and, stuff that happens after Episode 6. And so basically, he's now being brought in a very similar role. He was brought in Rebels as kind of a Grand Admiral of the Empire at one point, and he was definitely one of the higher-ups that was buddies with Palpatine. You know what I mean? He was good. Thrawn was definitely up at the higher ranks. And so we even got a glimpse of Thrawn, or a mention of Thrawn, in both The Mandalorian Season 2 and 3, when we see in Season 3 a shadow council of the Empire talking about how he could be returning as heir to the Empire, just like we had in the books. And I think that's honestly where we're heading in this show, with Baylan and Shin kind of playing a very similar role to another character in those novels. And I totally love where Dave Filoni is taking this, kind of adding in flavors of the expanded universe and throwing in his own twist with the Ahsoka and Rebels characters. It's just a beautiful, beautiful connection that he's doing that's going to lead to such amazing, amazing storytelling. So let's get into the chat here while we let the trailer play a little bit. We'll get into some more of this. That ship looks pretty crazy cool. Yeah, crazy, pretty cool. It definitely does. Sabersmith says that temple sort of looks like a map. There's definitely a lot of map temple stuff going on. We'll talk about that a little bit here, because there is one right here, actually, that I want to talk about. And I also want to talk about how Morgan Elsbeth seemingly using the Force or some sort of maybe magic. There is a flame under that thing that we see there. Of course, she's doing the little hand motion, and there's a lot of fan theories that Morgan Elsbeth is actually a Dathomirian or a Night Sister. She's obviously not quite like the other people from Dathomir. She looks like she's a human, but she definitely could be a Night Sister, as a lot of fans have theorized, and this could be Night Sister magic that she's using here, especially with the flame. That kind of gives me those Night Sister vibes. And then we get this kind of map thing that they're surrounded in, and this totally looks like another piece of Star Wars expanded lore that is a map of the Rakatan Empire, or like an ancient Rakatan civilization. Now, for those that don't know, the Rakatans are another species in deep expanded lore that basically was trying to take over the galaxy, or take over, I guess, the universe. I don't know too much about the Rakatans. However, they were brought back into canon with a brief mention in Andor, so maybe they're getting tied in even deeper now into the Ahsoka show. Again, that could be a total long shot. This could be a map that the 3 of these characters are using to try and find Thrawn in the outer regions, or the unknown regions of space that are very dangerous to travel through. And it's actually where Thrawn and his people, the Chiss, are from. So, I mean, there is a lot of stuff that this map could signify. I'd love to see where it's actually going to be leading, but it definitely seems like an important scene there to me. And I love this stuff with Baylan and Shin just kicking some butt, man. There's another deep theory that Shin actually could have Kanan Jarrus's lightsaber. I totally blew it up too much there, but this is a fantastic shot of it where it looks almost identical to Kanan's lightsaber, if I'm being honest. And I don't know why it's all small like that now. Let me enlarge in this. definitely some cool shots of Shin though here. I think the scene is set before the show. So that's another thing I'm really confused about in terms of the timeline of this show. In the epilogue of Star Wars Rebels, we of course, Sabine is kind of running down everything that's happened since the disappearance of Ezra and Thrawn at the end of the show, and she goes off at the end on some sort of journey with Ahsoka to potentially find Ezra, or so it seems. And a lot of people are kind of questioning if this Rebels epilogue has happened already, or if we're seeing it here for the first time. So here is the scene of the epilogue. We'll skip forward a little bit, or at least the one that resembles the epilogue scene. Real quick, let me go check that out. Garvin Ross, welcome to Vader's Lad. Welcome to the dark side. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Much love, my man. Real quick, let me get into it here. So, some dope scenes of Ahsoka there. So here's the Rebels epilogue, and it looks slightly different. Sabine does totally do the hand touch. It definitely could be the exact same scene that we got at the end of Star Wars Rebels, but if you notice, there's another scene, I think, where Ahsoka has a little bit of a grayer or darker hood in the trailers than she does in the epilogue of Rebels, where she looks more like Ahsoka the White, I guess you could say. And I'm really stuck on whether or not the epilogue is happening during the show, like it's a part of what we're going to see and it's what we're leading up to at some point, like the midway point, I think, or if the epilogue of Rebels happens at like a point in time that's even predates the show potentially, because Dave Filoni's always been kind of like up in the air about when it happens, and I imagine we're gonna get like a true answer in this show, but I'm truly stuck on that. So my kind of idea of what I thought, especially after seeing this trailer, is that I think Sabine potentially was kind of taken out of the fight towards the end when the Empire was falling. She was protecting Lothal, and of course the Night of 1,000 Tears happens at some point, and Sabine being on Lothal, I think it could have, like, you know, broken her to see her people fall like that, to see Mandalore, as Sabine is one of the, like, a member of a high up family of the Mandalorian ranks. She's a member of the Wren family, which is descendants of the Vizslas, which, I mean, Tar Vizsla was the creator of the Darksaber. So she's definitely part of a very important family, and I think the fact that the Mandalorians would have fell to the Empire could have broken Sabine, on top of the fact that her family could have even been on Mandalore when it happened, knowing that her mom was definitely friends with Bo-Katan and would have been trying to fight off the Empire. And Sabine even kind of started that uprising during Star Wars Rebels, where she stayed to help her family for a time before eventually staying on Lothal again to protect the family that she made, you know what I mean? So it's totally possible her family could have even died in the Night of 1,000 Tears, or members of her family could have. And one of my biggest questions from this trailer is about whether or not Sabine is kind of the apprentice to Ahsoka now, because it totally seems like that. It totally seems like they're playing that off in the trailer, like Sabine is the apprentice of Ahsoka. And I want to know what you guys think, and let me know what your favorite part of this trailer was down in the chat, because there's so many awesome moments, but I really don't know whether or not Sabine's the apprentice of Ahsoka. Personally, I feel like we're maybe getting tricked with some trailer magic, like, because I don't know, it's so strange. Like, a lot of people are wondering, is Sabine Force sensitive? Is she now the apprentice to Ahsoka? I'm like, I don't know. Like, she could be the apprentice to Ahsoka and not be Force sensitive, but then again, every living being in Star Wars technically has the Force residing within them, so in a way she is Force sensitive, but she's so stubborn and Mandalorian, as Kanan says in the Star Wars Rebels show, that it's possible she just, you know, isn't open enough to the Force. And it could be, you know, something where she is training with Ahsoka, or she was training with Ahsoka maybe after Star Wars Rebels during the epilogue, which could have, again, happened before the show. And the two of them were trying to find Ezra, and she was training with her, and the training didn't exactly go right, and they didn't really have any success the first time they went to go find Ezra. And it could be that they're going off for a second time in this show to go find him again. However, I don't think that's the case. I think that the Rebels epilogue is the same as what we see in the show. I think that they are one and the same. And I think it's possible there could have been some, retconning here going on here. The fact that Sabine has long hair, I think that Sabine hasn't seen Ahsoka in a long time. That's my actual process. That's where I was at before this trailer, where it seems like maybe she was training her, which is why I think there's some trickery going on with the editing of this trailer. I think Sabine has been on Lothal, and I think it was actually Hera that maybe walked away from Sabine. Unless that is Ahsoka, I really don't know, but
Stubborn as ever.
she's still as stubborn as ever. See,
Stubborn.
that's something that makes people makes me think even that she probably has trained with Ahsoka. She's stubborn as ever. That's Sabine for you.
She's still just as stubborn as ever.
I bet your master found you difficult at times.
Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine.
So she walks away from Sabine, it seems like. Originally, I thought it was Hera because I wasn't watching the trailer when I was listening in at work. I was just like, oh my god, I gotta listen to this trailer over and over and over. But the fact that Ahsoka walks away from Sabine, it does make me think that it's possible at the beginning, before the show even happens, they were searching for Ezra and it didn't really work out. And then the Night of 1,000 Tears could have happened, which maybe, could have led to Sabine kind of giving up and stopping searching for a little bit. And, I think it's possible this show starts off with Baylan and Shin going to break out Morgan Elsbeth. Ahsoka finds out, and she's kind of trying to rush to find Thrawn as well, and warning Hera about it because Ahsoka and Hera would have had a connection through their time in the rebellion together when Ahsoka was Fulcrum, and she basically could have been warning Hera, who of course would know the threat of Grand Admiral Thrawn very well, yo, we got to do something. We got the New Republic isn't really set up military wise to protect themselves against a threat like Grand Admiral Thrawn. He would come back, and all of this that we did, all of the sacrifice that everyone made to basically defeat the Empire would just be undone, and Thrawn would come in and usher in this new age as the heir to the Empire. And I love the idea of Ahsoka going off and telling Hera I need your help, and Hera's well, I know someone that definitely could help you out. And you already walked out on her. You walked out on Sabine when you guys were looking for Ezra. And I think the two of you need to go and find him again. And that could be why Sabine has the long hair and she's all yeah, I don't know about this. She's got this whole snarky look. She's, Ahsoka even has this look of yeah, it didn't work the first time, but I need your help. And Sabine gives her this look. You never made things easy for me, Master. And that snarky look there with her turning back. I really don't know if that's even maybe just her taking a shot at her. And that's why I think it could be trailer magic where she's kind of oh yeah, you were a master, weren't you? Or you were a master. Or I don't know. She totally seems like she's giving her more of a shot, or your master was never even a master or something. To me, I don't know if I truly believe that Sabine is Ahsoka's apprentice. I don't know. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. I got to see what y'all are saying, man. I'm too hyped. The show looks so damn good. Star Wars Politics, it's good to see you, my dude. He says, I noticed a lot of fan edits of Lars Mikkelsen as Thrawn were pretty dang accurate. Minus the facial hair, of course. No, they definitely were pretty dang good. And I love how it ended up turning out. I can't wait to see some more of Thrawn. A lot of people have been talking about how they think we might not see too much of Thrawn or Ezra in this show. That's definitely possible, at least in the first season. We might not see them until the last couple of episodes. But the fact that there's 8, wouldn't be surprised at all if it happens sooner rather than later. A lot of this footage could be from the first couple of episodes, maybe even the first 3 or 4, which would be like the first half of the show. And I definitely think that, we could be seeing a little bit more of Thrawn and Ezra than we think. Talented Mr. Griffin says Hu Yang needs to tell us how the Darksaber was built. He definitely does. I hope that the Darksaber is brought back in some capacity. I would love for Sabine to figure out that the Mandalorians have reunited in the show or something. That would be so cool to see. The Leku and Montrals look Leku/Montrals look perfect, says Aaron Tomato. They do look freaking good, man. Rosario Dawson was actually talking about recently how they kind of advanced the process or made it a little bit better and easier for them to put on the makeup and all the prosthetics and everything than they had for the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian season 2 when she had appeared in those shows. And of course you have to, if you're gonna have her as the main character in every single episode. You gotta kind of perfect it, and it seems like they did. I need to hear Mickelson's voice because just the images look like Thrawn from an 80s TV show. I feel you just seeing it like that, especially like I kind of have the images ingrained from seeing the leaked trailers from Star Wars Celebration. So like to me, I still see the like grainy film look of the iPhone pictures of Thrawn, and I'm like, he looks really good, but it's still like ingrained in my mind. Like Aaron Tomato says, and Sabine's even listening to a recording of Ezra's discussing life as a Jedi. It could be a misdirection, but I love the idea of Sabine discovering her connection to the Force. So I'm totally with this idea too. Like, don't hear me out, or don't hear what I'm not saying. I don't think that Sabine is Force sensitive, and I think it's still a long shot that she could be the apprentice of Ahsoka. Not that it couldn't happen. I mean, Grogu, who was a Jedi, is being trained as a Mandalorian, and Sabine, who's a Mandalorian, could be getting trained as a Jedi, and I think that's so cool. And of course, she does have some Jedi training in a way from Ezra and of course Kanan Jarrus in the Star Wars Rebels show, which we actually just watched those episodes this past weekend during our Rebels rewatch, and we're getting to some of the best episodes this next weekend on Saturday and Sunday, finishing up season 3 with one of my favorites, Twin Sons, around the corner. Definitely stay tuned and subscribe. If you haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, now's the time. Join us this weekend as we watch along and watch some more of it. But yeah, I totally agree that Sabine, it seems like a misdirect in a way of her watching the Ezra training clip of him Ezra clip of before he blasts off with the Purgle, of him talking about her taking over, him entrusting that with her, and talking about his Jedi training, or what being a Jedi is like, and how you have to sometimes make sacrifices for the bigger picture, I guess you could say. And I feel like Sabine definitely could fall with that ideology. She could have been trying to be training as a Jedi at one point and not really been open to it enough, or not succeeded. I love this dang snarky look she gives. Man, Natasha Liu Bordizzo looks like a fantastic Sabine. I love the casting choice.
As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can.
Iman Esfandi sounds amazing as Ezra Bridger too. I can't wait to see it, like an actual look at him that's not just a hologram.
Sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can. But I'm counting on you to see this through.
I love that scene there too of Sabine cutting off her hair. It is literally mirroring the scene of Kanan cutting off his hair before going to rescue Hera in the Rebels show. It literally mirrors it, and he is kind of like a father figure to her as well, which I think could have added to kind of the pain and everything that Sabine has gone through, losing one father figure with Kanan, and potentially even losing her father in the Night of a Thousand Tears. I think it's totally possible that could have happened, and just led to her kind of living this life out on Lothal that was kind of away from the fight. She's done with the wars and everything, and this could be her being brought back into it.
But I'm counting on you to see this through.
Nice haircut.
Nice haircut. Yes, man, and the trailer gets so lit there. Brandon Alvarado says it will be really interesting that if Sabine is force sensitive. Yeah, if she is, that's gonna definitely, it's gonna kind of come out of nowhere, and it's also gonna be really cool. I think there's not too many Jedi Mandalorians that we know of. There's actually a really funny interview with John and Dave during Mandalorian season 3, where the interviewer basically asked, like, is the Darksaber gonna be part of Grogu's legacy potentially, knowing that he is, the first Jedi Mandalorian since Tar Vizsla, and John kind of stabs in and he's like, well, there's Sabine too, and Dave is like, well, I wouldn't say Sabine's a Jedi, like, so maybe she does become a Jedi, maybe she was training to be a Jedi, and maybe it doesn't work out though, as Dave even says, I wouldn't say she's a Jedi, like, but maybe she could have been training to try to be, and she was kind of training with the Darksaber back in Rebels too. So Nerd Mafia says, so Ahsoka missed Sabine holding the Darksaber. The whole concept of her now training as a Force wielder is weird to me. I still think it's a red herring. I really do. Wax War says Mandalorian season 3 was the final straw, worse than Power Rangers. Oh, I disagree, my dude. I definitely disagree. I love the Mandalorian season 3. We covered it on the channel, and it was a blast, man. There were some really cool moments. I think it is going to help propel the whole Mandoverse later on, and I loved what it did with Bo-Katan. I loved how much Grogu got development in this season. And I even liked, even though Din Djarin took a backseat at times, I feel like he was way more prevalent than people want to admit. And I like the character development and stuff that he kind of went through as well. Season 3 was a lot of fun. There were a lot of personal moments to me, whether it was, certain planets that they visited to or different things that I personally have an attachment to. But I understand how maybe someone wouldn't love Season 3 as much as maybe Season 1 or 2. But damn, I love The Mandalorian Season 3. Talented Mr. Griffin says she looks strange in her armor without the gloves in that one scene. She definitely it looks different in live action, right? But I kind of like it. I kind of do like the look.
We have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings.
And the like under of her stuff there too. That's really cool. And of course, a lot of those shots in the Ghost, which I can't wait to see. A Purgle, it looks like here, which damn, that live action Purgle looks crazy. And then there's this wild little, like, I don't know if it's a spacesuit or what Ahsoka's wearing, but it definitely is different, and it totally brings out the blue in her Mondrals. She looks dope, though. I love the look. Saber Smith says Sabine doesn't have her armor on in this scene. Yeah, in a lot of these scenes, she doesn't, actually, although we do see her kind of suiting up again for the first time in the haircut scene. Star Wars Politics says, I was listening to Iman Esfandi interview early. I was listening to an Iman Esfandi interview earlier, and he sounded like Ezra. He even has that childish kind of voice, if you know what I mean. Recognizable previous fans, and not so different that it sounds funny. Yeah, no, I agree, man. I did some research on Iman Esfandi when he was first cast as the character, and just listened to some interviews, looked at some of his other acting performances, and Ezra to me is a very personal and beloved character to myself, and I love the Star Wars Rebels show more than almost anything. It's probably my favorite show ever, and it's definitely probably one of my favorite Star Wars stories ever, and for sure my favorite under the Disney era. I love Star Wars Rebels, and Ezra is definitely up there with one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise. So to me, it was like, all right, well, whoever they cast, I hope they do a good job. I'm really excited to see what the performance is like. And when I saw Iman Esfandi was cast, and I did some research on the dude and heard his voice and saw his performances, I'm like, perfect freaking casting, man. This dude's gonna do an awesome job. I'm so excited to see him. And that first little scene there of him talking as Ezra, chef's kiss, man. Perfect, freaking perfect. Wax Wars, I'm sorry you feel that way, dude. That's terrible. I'm real sorry. We definitely keep a positive spin on Star Wars here, and I love everything that they did in season 3. I'm not gonna say it was all perfect, but it was definitely a fun season to me. Sabersmith says early New Republic outfit. That's New Republic patches on her shoulder. Yeah, I definitely noticed that kind of there too. Let's slow it down real slow right here, because I see what you're saying with that little patch by where it says buckle up. Maybe I'm in the way. Oh, now I went way too far. Buckle up. That Purgle looks crazy. Yeah, we definitely get a little like Old Republic or like New Republic symbol there on her shoulder. A little bit different than the Imperial symbol. And I love the fact that they're flying around with what looks like Shin chasing them by some Purgles. It definitely would make sense that they maybe try to use the hyperspace whales or the Purgle or the Purgil or Purgil or whatever you want to call them. I love that they could potentially be using them to go find out where Ezra and Thrawn ended up going to, man. I love that idea. The trailer was awesome, dude. This trailer was amazing, Mando. I'm so hyped to see you in the chat, my dude. Man, there's so much good stuff in this. Space whales? Yes, politics. Space whales, indeed. If we don't stop Thrawn, says Ahsoka, the look Sabine gives, everything will be in vain. And here we get the first look at Thrawn. I don't know if someone had like changed it, or maybe they changed it themselves. And again, I will say real quick that the Imperial patches have always been very inconsistent in canon. But I saw someone point out on Twitter, and again, I don't know if they just changed it themselves or what. Maybe I'm tripping out. But it's possible Thrawn might not have the Grand Admiral plaque, and he may have even been demoted to Admiral or Fleet Admiral instead of Grand Admiral. Although he is still referred to as Grand Admiral, if I'm not mistaken. I can't exactly remember what they called him in the Shadow Council meeting. But, again, they are very inconsistent with those patches. But just something to note, he might not be a Grand Admiral at this point. Is that a gold stormtrooper behind Thrawn, says the Stanleys. I don't think so. I think it's a regular stormtrooper. Maybe, though. I mean, Thrawn is very into artwork and different things. He could be adding his own little spin. I love how he looks, man. He looks so dang good. Why does Thrawn look like Elon Musk? Oh, a lot of people have been saying that. I don't really see it too much. Like, I see it a little bit. But nah. Yeah, the patches are a little bit different in Rebels, so just something to note there. Another thing is, if Sabine doesn't have the Force, which I don't think she does, she did have these kind of Mandalorian gauntlets that were kind of like Force weapons in a way, and here she even kind of uses one against what looks like maybe a bounty hunter or some kind of character like that. Maybe it's against Shin, who says you have no power. And a lot of people think maybe she's even holding her hand out to try and use the Force here. I don't think that's the case. There is a scene that comes up here where she kind of uses what looks like one of her old little gauntlet things. Of course, she is using Ezra's lightsaber here. And the most likely scenario is that Ahsoka is training Sabine to use the lightsaber that was left to her. And that's so damn badass, man. I can't wait to see more of it. Here we get Baylan and Ahsoka starting to fight as well, which definitely gives me vibes of Ahsoka versus Morgan Elsbeth back in Mando Season 2. Looks like the ship there. This looks crazy too. Maybe she's running away from that temple that we see in some of the trailers with it blowing the hell up. Like, what the flip is going on? Definitely some wild looking stuff. Hu Yang too, which I can't wait to see how he's involved. It really intrigues me. And then Hera saying once a rebel, always a rebel. At first I was like, I don't know how I feel about the Hera voice. Vanessa Marshall was the OG Hera back in the day. Not even that long ago. But it's definitely growing on me already. I'm excited to see more of Hera, and a character that hasn't appeared in any of the trailers thus far is her son, Jason Syndulla, the son of Kanan Jarrus as well, which we did see him in a Lego, a new Lego set that's going to be coming out the first week that the Ahsoka show airs. So that is something to note, that there is, Jason Syndulla was in one of the Lego promotionals, and he didn't have the like green hair that we saw in that epilogue that a lot of fans didn't like, and some people have kind of put out there like maybe Sabine dyed his hair green, and you could see a little bit of green on like his ears in the epilogue too, so maybe that's an explanation as to why his ears were green. The dye got on there and everything. Jason, who has no green on him at all. Yeah, he's got the brown hair now, and he looks like a mini Kanan. I would love if he ends up looking like a mini Kanan, but has those like sharpened green eyes that Air has. Ahsoka says, I never finished my training. What if Luke helped finish her training? Huh. I don't think he does, but in fact, that's probably even why she's saying that. But I do love this idea of once a rebel, always a rebel, with Hera saying that, and the two of them looking at each other. So something that I think is overlooked by a lot of people between Ahsoka and Sabine, and maybe what the real conflict between the two of them is, if it's not this whole master and apprentice relationship that we're being fed here in this trailer. The two of them have had a very minimal screen time together, and actually the only notable kind of interactions that we really had between the two in Star Wars Rebels was kind of a distrust between the two, where Sabine didn't fully trust Ahsoka because she was going under the code name of Fulcrum. And at that time, Hera and Fulcrum were working together on missions that they would tell the rest of the crew very little about. So basically, Fulcrum, Ahsoka, was hiding under that code name at the time and hiding the larger rebellion from the Ghost Crew and from Sabine in particular. And when Sabine would try to bring up the question or be like, yo, who is Fulcrum? Like, why can't I meet them? Like, what's going on? Why are we doing these missions? Like, if you don't give me an answer, basically, like, how do I know what you're trying to have me do isn't just as bad as what the Empire's doing? You know what I mean? Because the whole thing with Sabine Wren is the fact that she was actually in an Imperial Academy at one point. As she grew up on Mandalore, she ended up going to an Imperial Academy, and she created this super weapon that basically ended up being used against her own people and basically targeted Mandalorian armor, or Beskar, and was used against her people. It killed the people in that Beskar armor, and so she felt terrible about the weapon that she had created, tried to basically sabotage it before leaving the Empire and joining up with the rebel crew that she ended up being with. So her whole thing at the time when she was with the rebels, and when Fulcrum was, Ahsoka was going under that code name of Fulcrum, was that she didn't trust them. She's like, yo, if you're not telling me what's going on, how do I know what you're doing isn't just as bad as the Empire? And so she gets to kind of figure out who Fulcrum is as the show goes on, and she gets a little bit more trust, and actually becomes a very big part of the rebellion between that whole group. And Sabine ends up kind of trusting her later on, but I think that still is kind of a riff or a strife between the two of them. The fact that Fulcrum never really explained to her what was going on behind the scenes, and that she was kind of keeping her in the dark at that time. And that is really the only notable, stuff between the two of them. Sabine does have a very deep connection that I personally think is kind of a love interest between her and Ezra, which we even see her, staring at the Ezra thing, and him like calling to her touching his face here in the little mural that she painted, and having him as at the center of it. Like, in fact, the whole aspect of her staying on Lothal to begin with, and getting all these Lothal, images and stuff in live action, it just, the Rebels diehard in me is so freaking happy, man. Oh, we're winning, man. We're winning. A Fulcrum cannot explain everything. Sheesh, yeah, that's what she had to learn, though. But I definitely think there's a love interest between the two of them that hopefully gets explored in this series. And I actually have a new theory that be freaking cool. And shout out to Star Wars Obsession, because I loved his idea of this in his stream that he did earlier today. But what if Ezra is the Inquisitor that we see? because it's been a big question as to who this Inquisitor character is that looks just like the 8th brother from Star Wars Rebels, although the 8th brother seemingly fell to his death in Star Wars Rebels as well. Of course, falling from great heights is no feat to a Star Wars character, as many of them, other than Mace Windu, have survived. But that character that fell to his death, that wore this armor in Star Wars Rebels, did have a slight different variation of the armor. Of course, it could be stylized because of the animation. And he had 4 fingers, which this character has 5, it looks like. So it could be a different character wearing the same armor. And I think it could be Ezra. And let me know who you guys think the Inquisitor is down in the comments below. But here's my whole theory on how it could be Ezra. Ezra did have some dark side tendencies at one point. He was, as Maul liked to call him, his apprentice. But he wasn't really Maul's apprentice. Just, he was buddies with Maul at one point. Darth Maul. Yeah, that Maul. And I personally never thought that, you know, Ezra would be turning to the dark side, especially at this point. He did definitely have some crazy moments in season 3 where he uses the Force to control this dude in a chicken walker or one of the AT-ATs and basically shoots his own men before jumping off a platform basically in the chicken walker and killing the guy. So he just literally goes crazy using the dark side. But he definitely got past that, and Kanan kind of trained him and, you know, got him past the whole dark side within him before Kanan eventually passes away in the show, sacrifices himself for the rest of the crew to survive, and giving Ezra kind of his final lesson of what he should do as a Jedi, to sacrifice himself to take Thrawn off the board so that the rebellion could end up beating the Empire. And so it's possible Ezra, when he blasted off with Thrawn, could have fallen to the dark side or been influenced by Thrawn. And we do know that Ezra likes to steal armor from a lot of the, like, Imperial characters, the dark side characters. I mean, come on, who else would know where this guy's armor is if he did die? Like, Ezra would know it's on Malachor. He would be able to go back there, put it on, and maybe even take his lightsaber or fix his lightsaber up. And of course, Ezra doesn't have his lightsaber because it's with Sabine. I'm just saying, like, what if Ezra did go to the dark side, or like is helping out Thrawn at this point and is dressed as the Inquisitor? Because I have no idea who else this Inquisitor could be. We have no idea where Ezra is at this time period, and that would be such a big twist. Like, what if Ezra has fallen to the dark side or is working with Thrawn because there's a greater threat out there in the form of these aliens known as the Grisk that Thrawn joined the Empire to kind of protect the entire galaxy from and his own people from. And that was the whole idea of Thrawn joining the Empire. He thought that they were, you know, it was the greater of two evils, joining up with the Empire to take down an even greater threat in the Grisk. And it's possible he could have convinced Ezra of something similar or the same thing, and that Ezra could have maybe fallen prey to the dark side to try and help become a greater good for the galaxy. And I think it would be so cool to have kind of a mirroring, you know, it's Star Wars we're talking about here. It's poetry, it rhymes. It would be so dang cool if we had Sabine basically being the good or the love interest to Ezra as he fell to the dark side, to try and bring him back into the light, and him, you know, knowing that these characters survived, that it wasn't in vain that he made this sacrifice. It could bring him back to the light by the end of the show, or by the end of this first season, and that would be so freaking cool to me if that ends up happening. Yo, the trailer! What up, Steve? Good to see you in the chat. Let me know what you guys think, though. Am I crazy? Could Ezra be the Inquisitor? Do you guys have another idea of who the Inquisitor could be? What was your favorite part of the trailer? Like, let me know what you guys are thinking in the chat, man. Brandon Alvarado says, I hope the Inquisitor is Barriss. Dude, that would be really cool, too. Excuse me. Barriss was the Jedi, or I guess you could say the Padawan apprentice of Master Luminara during the Clone Wars. And she ended up framing Ahsoka, one of her best friends in the Jedi Order, for a bombing that she committed on the Jedi Temple. And the whole reason that Ahsoka actually left the Jedi Order was because of Barriss Offee, who basically, again, framed her for this bombing. And the Jedi didn't believe Ahsoka when she was trying to say, yo, I didn't do this, like, I can prove it to you guys. they didn't believe her. They didn't even try to let her prove her innocence. They just straight up were like, nah, fam, you did it, and let's put you in jail. And that's what leads Ahsoka to being like, yo, there are some flaws with the Jedi. You guys want me back in the Order, but screw that, man. Screw that. You know what I mean? And so that's the whole reason that Ahsoka doesn't or ends up leaving the Jedi Order and walking away from Anakin. And I think that she even feels like kind of responsible for Anakin's fall to the dark side because of her walking away. A lot of fans even have theorized that Ahsoka leaving the Order and what the Council basically did to her is something that contributed to Anakin falling to the dark side. And I would agree 100%. I wouldn't exactly say that it was Ahsoka's fault or that she was at fault for that. I actually applaud her for walking away from the Order. But I do think that that whole ordeal and incident did leave some battle scars or some wounds on Anakin's ego, I guess you could say. Dat Boy Steve says, Ezra to the dark side. You don't say that, bro. You don't say that. Never. Don't do it. Don't do it. Mace Windu canceled Ahsoka. He's like, yeah, how could the 8th brother survive and not me? How come him and not me? That shot of Sabine on the bike with the E-Wing, straight out of Legends. Sabine had a Lothcat on her helmet. She did, man. That shot is so freaking cool. Let's go back to that real quick because it's dope. I heard that, I don't know if this was a joke or not, but I heard, of course, she does have the Lothcat on the helmet, but I heard that it's possible there's some like Arabish on there that says babe because she's a total babe, but maybe I'm wrong. Actually, Yoda did yet another one of his failures. Yoda did have many of those. But yeah, she does have kind of a Lothcat impression on her helmet there. Something else going on, and I love that scene too, man. The E-Wing looks dope. I love the little droid that comes out. It's sick. It's sick. And this look, man, I can't get over it. Master. I'm telling y'all, man, it totally feels like a lot of people are taking it literally that Sabine is the apprentice to Ahsoka. She's her master now from this line. And I can't get over the whole Anakin thing. You know what I mean? That's totally what it makes me think of Anakin not being granted the rank of master. It totally feels like a shot at Ahsoka. Like, it's not, to me, it's Ahsoka could be her master. Don't get me wrong. It just feels like a shot. Like, you're not a master. Like, you know what I mean? Ezra could be on the Chiss homeworld training their Skywalkers. Dude, that would be crazy, Stanley's. I love that idea. For those that don't know, again, I think I talked briefly about the Chiss earlier. The Chiss are the blue humanoid species that Thrawn is a part of. Basically, they're like a blue empire in the outer regions. Like, a lot of species are afraid of them. They're very smart and tactical, as Thrawn is, although Thrawn is like a step above, one of the smartest of all of the Chiss, I would say. And they basically live in what they call the chaos, which is the outer regions of space, or this unknown regions that are very dangerous and, very hard to navigate through. Here we see, again, I'm going all over the place, but this is the scene I was talking about a little bit earlier, where it seems like Sabine has the kind of gauntlets that she had back in Rebels, where they kind of allow her to use the Force in a way, in her own Mandalorian way. And that totally could be what's going on in that scene. And I actually wouldn't even doubt, with Ezra wearing disguises, wearing different trooper stuff, like, I wouldn't doubt if he's not the Inquisitor, maybe this could be him, and Sabine, like, wraps him up, brings him over or something. I don't know. I want the introduction of Ezra to be something hilarious. You know what I mean? Sabine's helmet says B-A-E-B. Okay, so it's not babe, but it totally is babe. It totally is. Yeah, the totally getting Rebels vibes and all of this, man. I'm so freaking hyped. People don't talk about the Grand Inquisitor's warning about Ezra enough. Huh. You're kind of right. I get what you're saying. I'm interested in what you're talking about there. Interesting. Is the Empire ever defeated if Ezra doesn't take out Thrawn? No. So if you're saying if Ezra doesn't take Thrawn off of the board during the time of the Empire was, at its peak, would they have lost? That's your question, Nerd Mafia. I think that's a fantastic question. I had that as a video idea at one point. Basically, I would say probably not. I don't think the Empire would have lost. I think the two biggest factors we'll put it down to the three biggest factors that led to the Empire losing. Number one, Kanan's sacrifice at the fuel depot on Lothal. I think the fact that Kanan sacrificed himself to basically blow up the fuel depot and save the rest of the rebels' lives, that ended up throwing the TIE Defender program off course at a time where basically Thrawn was brought off of Lothal to go have this big old meeting where the Emperor was basically straight up telling him, like, yo, we got this secret project going on, and it's costing us a lot of money. And you guys know what that secret project is. You know what it is. And basically, they're like, yo, we have so much money going to this thing, and there's this issue going on with it. We're going to have to take the money that's going to your TIE Defender program, and we're going to have to put it to this thing, unless you can figure out what's going on with this other thing that's affecting this thing. Basically, the Death Star had these parts that were going missing, and Thrawn had to figure out what was going on with these missing parts. And basically, if he couldn't figure out what was going on with it during a certain amount of time, the funding to his TIE Defender program was going to go towards the Death Star. And so he figured out that the whole issue that was going on with the Death Star's parts, and got the funding he would have needed for the TIE Defender program. Except, just as he got the funding is when Kanan sacrificed himself and the fuel depot blew up, and basically it threw off the entire plans that Thrawn had for the TIE Defenders. And if the TIE Defenders had actually worked out and the fuel depot was never blown up, Thrawn wouldn't have probably disappeared when he blasted off with the Purgle, and he probably would have been around to see through his TIE Defender program and the Death Star, and the Empire would have been unstoppable. Between the TIE Defenders and between the Death Star, I don't know who would have beat the Empire, man. That would have been something that would have really been hard for the rebellion to overcome. However, the fact that the fuel depot was destroyed by Kanan's sacrifice, or during Kanan's sacrifice, and the fact that Ezra ended up taking Thrawn off the board during this time period is probably what led to, Thrawn being off the board led to the Empire being able to make mistakes, Luke Skywalker being able to capitalize, believe in his father, and basically kill off the Emperor and defeat the Empire once and for all. And if Thrawn was in the picture, I agree with you, Nerd Mafia, the Empire probably would have won. They probably would have won. Stanley says Thrawn figured out the Death Star project through logistics distribution. Yes, he did. In the novels, he actually does find out about the Death Star before it's even explained to him. And he's like, oh yeah, they're building a super weapon. And that's another reason that he tries to stay close to the Emperor. He's like, yo, Emperor, I know that there's this secret thing going on. And the Emperor's like, oh, you do? He's like, yeah. You're not going to use that on my people, or we're going to have some issues. And Emperor's like, all right, well, you listen to me, and we're not going to have any issues, and I'm not going to have to use that weapon on your people. It's a fantastic scene in the books where the two of them talk about the Death Star, and him knowing about it basically before it's even needed to explain to him. It just shows how genius and tactical Thrawn actually is. Talented Mr. Griffin says the Defenders were very expensive to build over standard TIEs. Yes, they were. They had a lot of upgrades, I guess you could say, whether it be hyperspace, shields. There's a whole bunch of stuff that the TIE Defenders had that a normal TIE didn't. So, this article is from StarWars.com. New Ahsoka trailer. The former Jedi prepares for the return of Thrawn. And of course, it gets the little trailer here, but it talks a little bit about the new show as well. Let's dive into this real quick. The backwards E is an AE sound. Babe. Yeah, she is a babe. Once a rebel, always a rebel, this thing says. So Lucasfilm has released a new trailer for Ahsoka, and it's the most action-packed look yet at the upcoming Disney Plus series. Confirmed to premiere its first 2 episodes on August 23rd, which is so dope. We're definitely going to be doing watch parties for that. The story follows Anakin Skywalker's former Padawan, played by Rosario Dawson, after the events of The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, as she continues her search for Grand Admiral Thrawn. Of course, you can watch that trailer on the Star Wars website or on YouTube, or again in the stream a little bit earlier when we watched. I'll try to link it into the description below as well. The trailer opens with a startling act by Baylan Skoll, played by the late Ray Stevenson, and rest in peace to him. It's such a dope opening to this trailer, and I can't wait to see his performance as Baylan Skoll in the show, one of his last performances before his recent death. And it says here, a red lightsaber wielding antagonist. I would say it's orange. Dave Filoni even kind of commented that it's a little orangier too, whose ultimate intentions are yet unknown. We are no Jedi, he says, which is just like the line that Ahsoka said in Star Wars Rebels when she tells Vader that I am no Jedi. She's no Jedi anymore. But he coldly says that we are no Jedi before he slays the character he's talking to, and we also get our first full look at a visually arresting Thrawn, played by Lars Mikkelsen, the man who voiced him during Star Wars Rebels. As Ahsoka believes, she believes Thrawn is planning to return as the heir to the Empire, which I do as well, and as well as Ezra Bridger, played by Iman Esfandi in live action via recording messages. There's so much good stuff in this trailer, and the trailer features more of General Harrison Dula, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, the significant other of Ewan McGregor, the actor who plays Obi-Wan as well. And both Hera and both in the cockpit of the Ghost and addressing New Republic leadership. Hera is talking with the likes of Mon Mothma, played by Genevieve O'Reilly once again, as an impassioned plea that basically has her saying, we need to do something about this before another war starts. Finally, we come to understand more about the strained master and apprentice relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine Wren, played by Natasha Liu Bordizzu. Interesting! So, from StarWars.com themselves, there is a new master and apprentice relationship, or a strained master and apprentice relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine. Anakin never got to finish my training, says Ahsoka. I walked away from him just like I walked away from Sabine. It all ends with a look more exciting. With the look more exciting teases of what's to come in the epic series. Yeah, so definitely freaking hyped. In addition, Lucasfilm also released key official art for Ahsoka. Check it out below, along with a new behind-the-scene featurette about Rosario Dawson's journey to the series, the creation of Ahsoka Tano, and more insights into the show's story. So here's the first official poster, or that official poster of Ahsoka that we see, and she is doing a very similar pose to some of the official kind of stuff for Revenge of the Sith that Anakin is doing. I love that she kind of has the Clone Wars armor on her arm, it looks like, in a way. It's a total badass look. And then we didn't check out this trailer yet either, which came out the other day, that I'm excited to dive into here now with you guys as well, because this one is a good one. Let me unmute this guy, and let's get this guy playing. The Journey to Ahsoka. Let's get this going. Let me mute this guy. Make sure the volume's turned up, and let's check this out.
There's like a major campaign that's going on online to try to get me in Star Wars to play Ahsoka Tano, which would be amazing.
Because you know what? Star Wars follows you on Twitter. They don't follow anybody who's not in their movie.
I know. I think it's a good sign. Internet, help me out.
Hell
Now
yeah.
might be a good time to welcome Ahsoka herself, I think.
Yo.
Oh my god,
I love that they put the fan reactions. She does. She looks
Ahsoka
great.
is a character that Dave Filoni created and worked with George Lucas on in the Clone Wars.
Hell yeah.
We're telling the story of this character who's been trained by the greatest Jedi of all time in Anakin Skywalker.
Ahsoka has been a really beloved character for many, many years. There's a lot of Ahsoka love today.
With Ahsoka, it's time that she came into her own in a way we've never seen it before.
Hell yeah, Dave.
Rosario is so compelling. She is on fire and she knows her stuff. She's in it.
To see the scope of this story, I can't wait for people to watch it.
We have to maintain that sense of fun, adventure, and imagination.
It's quite extraordinary, actually, bring this to life.
Perhaps it is time to begin again.
So there's just a tidbit of what the journey to Ahsoka has truly been like. It has been such a dope journey as a member of the fandom that's really been along for every bit of the ride, I would say. To see Rosario Dawson back in the day being fan casted, you know what I mean, as Ahsoka, and the big, uprising that came with that, I guess you could say, or the amount of fans that were in support of it, and for her to come all this way, on top of the fact that Ahsoka as a character herself just, started off back in the Clone Wars animated show, being trained by Anakin, a Jedi who was beloved by so many people in the fandom. Of course, one of the main characters of all of Star Wars. The fact that she was this hated character in that original Clone Wars movie and now has come all the way to having her own show and being one of the most beloved members of the entire franchise. Ahsoka's journey has truly been a unique one, and I love that so many of us have been along for the ride, and so many different actors and people have been along for the ride, and that Dave Filoni's been along with it for the entire dang ride. Look at that young man, Dave Filoni there. I'm so damn hyped though, man. It's gonna be so freaking lit. A lot of people were actually kind of uproaring over the Dave Filoni's comment here of Anakin being the greatest Jedi ever, and I just want to add some context to what he's kind of talking about, because the full quote is, she's trained by the greatest Jedi ever, and I think what he's trying to say, because obviously Anakin killed some younglings, he's done some questionable things at times that maybe the greatest Jedi in the Order wouldn't maybe do. But to defend what Dave Filoni is saying and defend Anakin as the greatest Jedi ever, I think during the time of the Clone Wars, he is one of the greatest Jedi ever. A lot of people think that Qui-Gon is one of the greatest Jedi that ever existed as well. And the whole thing that they, believe with that is that Qui-Gon didn't always follow the Order, and he tried to do what he thought was right and the best thing to do. And Anakin is very much in the same vein as that, especially during the Clone Wars when he was training Ahsoka. And the stuff that he trained Ahsoka to do was some of the best training a Jedi could have got. In fact, I would say Ahsoka's the most Jedi out of all the Jedi, and she doesn't even consider herself a Jedi. And yet, who was she trained by? Anakin Skywalker. So yes, Anakin killed some younglings. He ends up becoming Darth Vader, who's, a Sith. But I think at one point he was one of the greatest Jedi ever. And that's kind of what Dave Filoni is trying to say here in terms of the fact that he trained her. She was trained by one of the greatest Jedi during that time.
In Anakin Skywalker. All time. Has been trained by the greatest Jedi of all time in Anakin Skywalker.
See, so yeah, obviously Anakin done some questionable stuff that maybe wouldn't put him up there as the greatest Jedi of all time, but Ahsoka herself, I think, has maybe taken that title from him. What up, Hell's Kitchen? Mace Windu is the best for sure, without a doubt. Bro, the amount of times he said Jedi was hilarious. Oh my god. Say what? I really love Ahsoka since back when she debuted in 2008. Me too, man. Me too. I was a little kid at the time when she debuted, and I thought it was so cool that Anakin had an apprentice. And I think one of the coolest things at the time was they were doing the Force Unleashed games as well. So Anakin had 2 secret apprentices that we had never heard about between Ahsoka and Starkiller. And it was like, dude, these characters are so dope. They both hold the lightsaber incorrectly. Like, I love the fact that Anakin had these 2 apprentices. And then, of course, Ahsoka ended up continuing on being a canon character. And then, you know, Starkiller became Legends, and of course, Sam Witwer was brought back into it. And if it's not Ezra or another character that is the Inquisitor that we've seen in the trailers, I would freaking love if that Inquisitor ended up being Starkiller. And here's the last theory before we get on out of here. This has been an absolute blast for me. I've been having a great time breaking down this trailer and talking about the Ahsoka show with you guys. We definitely got to get some stuff going on here with some content coming up here. I definitely got to get some stuff explaining Ahsoka, explaining Thrawn, and all these videos that I want to make. I'm working on them already, but I got to get it going. Last little theory, though. I would love if Starkiller or the secret apprentice of Vader, played by Sam Witwer, ended up being this Inquisitor character. It would just be so cool if Darth Vader ended up having a secret apprentice he never told Ahsoka about, or Ahsoka obviously never knew about. She ends up having to fight against him in this show, having to really deal with her past that it seems like she doesn't want to talk about in this trailer. So I have spoken, as Sabersmith says. I have had an absolute blast talking about the Ahsoka show with you guys today, going through all of it with you. I'm super hyped for this show, man. August 23rd cannot come fast enough, seriously. So let's play through this trailer one last time here in the background as we get some of your guys' last thoughts, closing thoughts before we get on out of here. Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the chat. How hyped are you for the Ahsoka show? I'm hyped. Could you imagine if Ahsoka had fell to the dark side? Man, says talented Mr. Griffin. That would have been bad news, man. Imagine if she was an Inquisitor. Nerd Mafia says Anakin learned it quicker than anyone, like 30-second training. Well, he did probably have the highest midichlorian count to date. So, you know, he definitely was capable of doing certain things like that, man. Whew. This show looks so damn good. Yes, bring on the great content, Vader's Lair Goat. Much love, nerds of Hell's Kitchen. Thank you very much. Nerd Mafia says Anakin. Yeah, I read that one. Grand Admiral Thrawn's return has heir to the Empire. Star Wars is back, baby! Let's go! Alright, y'all. I'm freaking hyped. I cannot freaking wait for this damn show to come out. We are watching the Star Wars Rebels show every weekend. If you guys are interested in watching along with us for the final season, we are finishing off Season 3 this weekend on Saturday and diving into Season 4 on Sunday. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Smash the like button if you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for those streams this weekend. We're definitely going to be doing a lot more content throughout the week. I might be joining Star Wars Obsession on his channel tonight, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Go check out him. If you're not already subscribed to Nerd Mafia, go check him out too. But again, subscribe to the channel. Go check out our Twitter, our Instagram. On Twitter, I believe we are at Vader's Lair. On Instagram, at Sheev the Wise. Got a lot more stuff to come. Definitely going to be doing a members only stream here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be doing 2 giveaways since we missed one last month. Thank you all for the support, though. I appreciate everybody for being here. I cannot wait for the Ahsoka show. And I will see you all soon. Make sure to have a fantastic rest of your night. And may the Force be with you always. Peace.
War is inevitable. One must destroy in in order to create. We are no Jedi.
I started hearing whispers of Thrawn's return as heir.
What happens when we find Thrawn?
Power, such as you've never dreamed.
I've spent most of my life fighting a war. That's why I'm trying to convince you to help me prevent another one.
You and I both know who could help you with this.
She's still just as stubborn as ever.
I bet your master found you difficult at times.
Anakin never got to finish my training. I walked away from him, just like I walked away from Sabine.
You never made things easy for me, Master.
As a Jedi, sometimes you have to make the decision no one else can. But I'm counting on you to see this through.
Nice haircut. Sometimes we have to do what's right, regardless of our personal feelings.
Buckle up.
If we don't stop Thrawn, everything will be in vain. You have no power.
Anakin spoke highly of you.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
We have a lot of work to do.
Once a rebel, always a rebel.